All right, couple things as we get rolling on this. First off, good morning if you're watching this in the morning, and I hope you had a great Halloween. If you have kids, hopefully they were able to get some trick-or-treating done and just enjoy some innocent fun. Anyways, hey, with all that being said, I got a couple things for you. Number one, what are you more excited about? Are you more excited about the Detroit Lions getting back on the field tomorrow, Sunday, or are you more excited about the trade deadline? It's interesting. I was just talking to a good buddy of mine, and we were talking. I wanted to talk about the game. I want to talk about the game tomorrow. And he was like, I'm more interested about the trade deadline on Tuesday. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess we need to talk about the trade deadline. Dan Campbell had a couple things to say about that. So we're going to get into that. We're going to actually hear from Dan Campbell on this video. No, I don't have him as a guest, but we are going to hear what he said. We have a recording of it, so we're definitely going to listen to that. I think when I'm looking at it, it's very interesting with the trade deadline to me. My gut says 50%, 60%, we don't do anything. And then the other 40% says maybe we trade for a backup tackle. But there's a lot of things that are happening that make me believe that we won't. But Dan Campbell did what Dan Campbell does best, and he left a little bit of intrigue out there. So I'm going to go ahead and play a 30-second clip for you right now where you'll hear Dan Campbell's voice talking about the trade deadline. Here you go.
Expect to be active at all?
Look, I don't, but that doesn't mean we won't. He's brought up a couple of things already.
Sorry, I'll keep it going. I don't, but that doesn't mean we won't, right? I love Dan Campbell. So, and here's the thing, he's honest, and I'll play the rest of this and why he thinks that. But that's what I love about Dan Campbell. He will sit there and he can't not be fully transparent and fully honest. That's who he is. No, I really believe he doesn't think that they will be active, but I also know that he thinks there is a possibility. That's why I'm not sitting here we won't make a trade. We won't make a trade. Because if something pops up that's good in the last second, it will happen. But it's much more difficult than you think to make a move at the trade deadline. And oftentimes, trade deadline moves don't end well. I'll explain why that is. I think oftentimes we talk about rookies and how it takes them about half a year to adjust and get settled into their new role. And then in the back half of the year, rookies usually are much better. We think for NFL veterans that the transition is going to be so much faster. It's faster, but not much faster. If it takes 8 to 10 weeks for a rookie to get plugged in, of the regular season, that's after training camp, that's preseason, right? That's all of those things that are happening. It still takes a veteran a good 1 to 2 months to get fully plugged in and understand what's going on. And I would say it takes them even longer than that to have a good feel of what's going on with the team. It's not just a quick plug and play. So trades at the deadline aren't always as easy as they seem. Communication, this is a league of communication, period. So anyways, I'll keep playing this clip from Dan for you.
There again, I'm so focused on the here and now and the roster we have in place, getting these guys ready to go. I love where we're at. I think the roster is I think it's healthy. I think it's in a good position. I think we have depth.
Agreed.
But like I say, he's always looking to improve the roster. That's one of his jobs, and he does a hell of a job at it. All
right, so here's what we've got. Brad Holmes is always looking to improve the roster. We know that. But Brad Holmes, this is the same guy that was saying this, all right, about Zadarius Smith. He said, I will say that was the most difficult player acquisition journey that I've ever dealt with. All right, this is talking about the trade. This is back in January when he was talking about the Zadarius Smith trade. When you start doing the work and you start making the calls, that thing shrinks down. You start calling these other teams and these other GMs, and they might have 4 rushers, and so forget the starters. Those guys aren't available. We're talking about thirds and fourths, and I can't really disagree with them. Where they say, look, we've got 2+ months of football left, and I trade you 1, and then when we get another one hurt, we've only got 2. And I was like, yeah, I didn't really expect you to be rational and think about it that way, but it's true. So when we got Za'Darius, it was one of a handful of guys that were actually available to get, and we felt like was going to contribute. So here's the deal. This is what we have that I don't think a lot of other teams have. We have depth at almost every position. The Legion of Whom just proved the depth that we have in the secondary. Everybody talks about trading for a corner. Cornerback is actually the one position where we've proven the depth can work. I understand that was a little bit of a banged up Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. I understand it won't continue to be perfect, but corner is the one place that we've already proven the depth is real, or at least have a small sample size that the depth could be real. When we're talking about defensive edge, we haven't fully proven that yet. I mean, Davenport went down, and we've proven we're good at edge without him, without Pascal. So, no, we can't continue to get hurt, but we've proven it a little bit. At tackle, we're already down. We're down. Jamarco Jones is out. Giovanni Manu is out. So it's Dan Skipper, a guy who originally didn't make the team. So I will still go back to and say, if there is a position on this team that we make a play for, it's backup tackle. I think that's where it goes. And you know for a fact Taylor Decker is hurt. This offense is playing entirely different because of that injury. When he was out and even when he's back, they know they can't rely on that consistent piece. They don't know when he's going to re-injure the shoulder, what that's going to look like. So when I think about tackle, when I think about trades, that's what I think of. And then I was looking at this article, and it was talking about Saints offensive tackle Trevor Penning to the Lions. All right, this is a guy who did not have his fifth-year option picked up by the Saints, so he's in his fourth year. He had a promising rookie debut, but has had some obviously bad Saints teams and bad offensive lines. Here's the problem with this, and this is where I think we have to give credit to Brad Holmes. When you go and you look at what Trevor Penning is, all right, look, I'm not going to say I've watched a lot of film on Trevor Penning, but here's what I can see. I can see a guy that played left tackle in his second year and had a 53.6 grade at left tackle. I can see a guy who played right tackle in his third year, 1,000 snaps. He was their full-time starter, right? Gave up 5 sacks, 4 hits, and total pressures of 54. All right? A 60 overall grade, much better run blocker than a pass blocker. And he was so ineffective at tackle that they moved him into guard this year, and he's played sparingly, but he had an injury. All right, so maybe we go get him. Here's the problem. This is Dan Skipper. We already have Penning. Dan Skipper, when playing at tackle, has already shown that he can be a 55 to 60, even up to 63, 64 type of guy. Not when he's playing consistently. He's a mid-50s grade type of guy, and he's actually a better pass blocker than run blocker, which, quite frankly, that's what I want out of my left tackle. If I have to choose one, it's pass over run. So here's what the Detroit Lions have done is they have created the depth. The problem, and the reason I say we could still trade for tackle, is because if Skip goes down and he's had that knee thing, what's left? And that is where the depth is not there. We've proven that there's depth at corner, that Whiteside can step in, that Rock Yassin can step in. Vontae Maddox is coming back this week. It looks like Terrion Arnold is coming back this week. So we have the depth in the defensive backfield. At defensive end, it's easier to move a defensive tackle type. We have a few defensive tackle types that we've been playing at edge that you can put out there. You could put Barnes at the edge. You have other guys that you can rotate to the edge, and they can do it not as effectively, but they can still do it somewhat effectively. You can't move a guard. You can't move a center out to tackle. So if it's not him, it's what is his name? It's a guy that we got from the Bengals. And that's our starting left tackle. So, yes, I do see the possibility of making a move for another tackle, a guy who is like a fourth tackle on another team, because we're already down our third and our fourth tackle. That's what I think people forget. If how do I want to put this? When Taylor Decker was hurt in the beginning of the year, the original plan was to have Jamarco Jones come in and be the left tackle. And he was hurt. So then the backup plan was Giovanni Manu or Dan Skipper. Well, Manu got hurt after playing a really good / terrible game. He played really good for 95% of his snaps and then had 3 just awful whiffs, right? Awful whiffs. And so now we're sitting here on what is probably open the season as our 5th tackle, and that's the guy that's now our 3rd tackle. That's why I think tackle is the position that we go for if we make a move. And I think there might be something more readily available at that. Like you talk about a guy who's barely a starter. He's not even a starter, like late round draft pick. Maybe if you can get him for a 5th round pick, pull the trigger. All right. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. What are you more excited for? Are you more excited for the trade deadline or for the game Sunday? I'm more excited for the game Sunday, obviously. All right. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.